Okay, folks, I am back and I have switched. So I am back now. I have switched from video hardware encoding to software encoding. I am seeing some drop frames, but not nearly as many as we were up to start with. Um, yeah, so let's see how this goes for a short bit and see how everything runs. Give me 1 second to plug my other camera back in. And I did configure the camera sources so that they shut off when they aren't active in OBS. So hopefully that also helps. We shall see. Audio is mono, by the way. Okay. Um, so I'm going to try this, and you guys need to let me know if this goes crazy hissing, or if you lose audio altogether. So what I did was I just switched over to go through the NVIDIA broadcast software. And if it goes crazy, let me know. There we go. Okay, good. Okay. Yeah, that's dramatically reduced our GPU load. And I am seeing some drop frames, but not nearly what we had before. So hopefully that's good. Yeah, streaming wouldn't be streaming without some bugs. And the weird thing is I've been running the hardware encoding for a while, for actually quite a while, since I believe it was set up when I went through this the last time trying to get the mics to work with Ian Douglas. So I'm not sure what's been going on and why all of a sudden it went wonky other than driver updates. So I don't know. I'm using web cameras and I don't know of a capture card, like an external capture card that I could use that would take, like a standard USB camera webcam feeds versus, because all the capture cards I've seen, the external capture cards that I've seen have been for like HDMI inputs directly from high-end cameras, and I'm not in that league yet. So hopefully this is working better and we're not seeing too much jitter, jump, and jagging. And if so, let me know. We'll continue to play around, but everything here is looking a little bit better now. Everything's calmed down on the processing side. So we'll see. We shall see. Let me see if my other camera came back. Okay. So we are starting to see some jitter. So I am seeing, it's not too bad. Yeah, I am seeing a little bit of stuttering. Yeah, I know, Modlight. I may have to try and see if I can't jump back a few drivers, and then just not update for a while, because they're good at updating very frequently, but they're updating a lot of it for games, and that breaks a bunch of stuff. So I'll see if I can't do something else. Yeah, there are two dates there, Ramon, and the two dates are, let me see if I can pull that back up. So the two dates that get shown are the what is it? I think it's a kernel driver, and yeah, it's a kernel mode driver, and then another driver that gets picked up. But now it shouldn't be showing that much, or it shouldn't be showing the GPU at all because it's doing software encoding. So yeah, I'm gonna have to jump back a few updates on the NVIDIA stuff, but I'll do that after. But yeah, it's a kernel driver and then something else. It's the other driver. But yeah, they're good for breaking it. We'll worry about that a little bit later. Hopefully we're at least a little usable now. And I'm seeing half the number of drop frames that I had before. And CPU's only at like 17%. So that's at least doable. And let me quit a couple of other things that might be still running in the background. There we go, to open some things up. So where were we? Let's see if this camera came back. This camera's back, so we got two cameras. Yay. And then let's go into our browser window. Okay. So this is kind of sort of where we were at. For those that have been listening and following along, I did. So this was the original shroud, and when I printed it, I had ears on, and apparently it felt the need to add some ears right on the pitchfork. So I couldn't get those cut off without damaging it. So I just reprinted it today. There's our nice, pretty solid fork logo. And I basically just disassembled everything from here and put it together in here. So this is exactly where we were at the end of the last stream. So we're going to go from this and continue on with our build of our hot end. And it's time to add our motor. So as I drop that, hopefully I didn't just end it. But this is the DFH 1.8 hybrid. So we're going to install this. And I tend to run my cables up for some boards, down for others. For this one, since we're going to be running a CAN bus board, kind of try and look at. Okay, that would be great, Mod Light, because I didn't know if there was a USB capture board. I couldn't find one when I was looking, so. So I do intend on running CAN bus on this. And what I like to do is just take a look and find out where the motor connection is going to be. Some of them will be on a two-part board. It'd be on the inside. It could be low. This one is high to the left. And knowing how this is going to mount with the offset and the motor's coming over here, my shortest motor path would be to have my cables coming up. Therefore, I don't have to wrap it around tight with where this gets mounted. So what we're going to do is you've got the hole on the left looking from the front. So the hole on the right, which would be the left from the front, is a hole. The other side's a slot. That means this is our fixed point that becomes the pivot. And this is the one that will allow us to slide and get the good amount of backlash on our mechanism. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of hold this up so it's off the gear, rotate it around, and we're going to install the M3 by 10 screw from the right or the left front. So let me go grab my screws. Yeah, I'm not worried about whether it's cheap or not, if it will offload the encoding and I won't have to deal with hopefully NVIDIA drivers and the changes that they make. That might not be a bad thing. And there went that screw. But we got it. Okay, let's try this again. So we're just going to line it up and get this screw started. And it's calling for an M3 by 10 screw. And I'm going to have to use my fall-in driver because I need to come in it at an angle. And you definitely want to use that M3 by 10, and it's going to come out long. Don't worry about that. That's going to be just fine. We want it to do that. And we're going to snug it up and then rotate it back just a smidge. Because once again, we want it to be able to pivot for right now. Okay? So our motor is going to be pivoting and just rocking. Now, next up, we're going to use another M3 by 10 to go in through the other side. And we're going to leave this loose again. And I am trying to monitor our drop frames. I am seeing it jitter a little bit and lag. So let me know if it becomes unusable, please. And we'll try something else out. Ah, you may have to pop this out so that it's out of the way and you can get to your screw head a little bit easier. And once again, we want it loose. Don't snug it up. We want it to be able to rock for now. Now it tells us to open it up, open up our mechanism. Better have your bifocals. I love it. And what we're looking for is some adjustability in the backlash. So you open this up and you want to look in here at the gears. It's going to be kind of hard, but you want to rotate this down so you've got a little bit of backlash when you're moving the gears, but not a lot. You just want to feel that backlash. If it's too tight, then you'll have a problem. And so I'm just going to use the weight of the motor to kind of rotate it down in there. And we'll see if we like that. If not, we'll just use my finger and rotate it up a little bit more. But you want to feel just a little bit of backlash, not a lot. And when you get it where you like it, press and hold, and go ahead and tighten it down on both. And then continue to check it out and feel it and see if it moved any. And like I said, you're looking for just a little bit. Um, yeah, I've been trying to work on it, Aussie. Unfortunately, the next couple of settings I can try involve me stopping and starting the stream again. Um, so are we just lagging and jumping, or yeah, we're starting to lag a good deal, huh? Jump and slight lag. Okay, I just made a little change. Let's see how that goes. Unfortunately, I'm running out of things I can change without stopping and starting the stream again. So let me see if that's going up or down. That lag rate's going up. Yeah, it's definitely drivers. Like at this point, I'm about ready to take back, take my NVIDIA drivers back a bit and also probably roll um, OBS back some. Because, yeah, it's got to be an issue with a driver update. Hey, Westery One, how's it going, sis? Because the impact is the frame rate, not the audio rate. Unfortunately, that's what I'm starting to see here. So I did tighten these down. I did just visually recheck. Make sure that you push your guidler back in, and that should cause your clip to come down. And you notice how my guidler is out at an angle? That's bad. So push it in, clip it down. Your guidler should be right up close to the edge. Otherwise, you're not locked in there right. Now we've got our motor in there. I do like the amount of play that I am getting on the motor here. Everything's tightened up a light. So we're going to set this aside. We're going to put our CB1 away for now. We'll get that out in a little bit. And it's time to work on mounting our hot end. So we're going to need our hot end mount block. Oh, that's super janky. I'm watching it over here, and it's definitely super jank. Um, And that program said there's not really an issue, so setting drivers in game, some of the card settings must be. The other thing, Ramon, is I let it do optimize for OBS, which may not be a good idea either. So I'm definitely going to back the drivers back some. But we're going to use this one, and this is for an XG. Okay, Fadus XG, because that's what we're going to use is our little, oh so tiny Fadus XG. And we'll take the fan off of it and it'll mount right in here. So let me take the fan off. Yeah, well, we'll have one soon enough. Now this is the XG. The this is their first generation. There is a next G that was shown off at Forum Next. So there's the fan pulled out. And by the way, the fan is a 24 volt. So keep that in mind. We may need that later or something else. Who knows? Um, so this is a really cool system. It is a rigid mount. Okay, it is a one of the cylindrical heaters, ceramic heaters. Um, yeah, it's a pretty nice setup. This is the Fadus Drop Effect XG. I still need to hot tighten this. It does come with a copper plated nozzle and a hardened steel nozzle. This is the hardened steel. It is a 0.4 hardened steel nozzle. So yeah, so Chewy went over and picked this up for me the last day of the show. The show being Earth. I think he picked up what do you get? The Dragonfly Hick. So basically the high flow Dragonfly for like 20, 25 bucks. And I got this one for 50. So this isn't too bad. And this will be rigid mount through the top. So this should just fit straight in there, provided it's the right size. Might be a little bit tight and snug, but that's not a bad thing. No, it's fine down there. Thank you, though. Um, yeah, it's just going to be a tight and snug fit here. Maybe too snug. May have had some shrinkage issues. Let me see if I can get this in there without busting it. Hey, KB3D Chris, how's it going, my friend? Hope you are doing well. We are currently trying to not break the part that I printed to put this in here. Now, granted, there's two versions of this. One has this piece, this cross piece here, and I think it's called the fan saver. Another one doesn't have it. So I might just need to get to the other one or manhandle this one in. It is definitely a tight fit. Yep, I'm going to have to. You have to, did I print the other version of this or not? And of course, I did not. No, I think this is just going to be way too tight. No comments from the peanut gallery. And there's no easy way to cut or file this out because of the way it is. So I'm going to have to reprint this part. So unfortunately, I won't be able to get the hot end installed today. That sucks. Oop, 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 maybe. Yep. Nope. I'm going to have to. We're just shy of this fitting all the way in there and lining up. I mean, I could try and make it. I'm going to have to reprint the part anyhow. Either that or I get it in there and it's always going to fit in there and it's never going to come out again. Hope Face doesn't look at this and think I'm going to do this to their pretty shinies that they send me. Or actually that I might. Still just slightly off on the alignment. I don't know if I'll be able to bring that into alignment by putting the screws in or not. That royally sucks. Anyhow, you would get that in there and then this will slide right in between the fans. Going to apparently be another tight fit. That down there. This would go here. Yeah, I'm going to have to reprint this part. Every time I keep thinking we're making progress, we have to take a step back. But we are making some progress. We do have our tool head started here. And of course, next step will be mounting our tool head. Yep, Chris, unbuilding is part of building. That is so true. I guess we can work on at least getting the front side of our tap ready to go. We've got our new rail installed. So this new rail adds the MGN 9H carriage. And let me just move this stuff out of the way. Move this over. So I installed the new rail, went ahead and got our belts pulled tight, went to 150 millimeters between the axis points of the idlers where the belts are, and then used my app to pluck and make sure that they were tensioned the same. I went a little bit tighter than I normally do, but that's going to be okay here. And this is tightened down, and I installed the MGN. I was going to say 12H 7. I think it's MGN 7H rail. Yep. We're doing okay subsector. We're still lagging, not as bad, but we are still lagging. I am seeing some lag and jump still. So I'm going to have to work on that. Modlight did send me a link for an Elgato USB camera capture card. So I'll have to take a look at that. I'm going to try and also bring drivers back. So we'll see. We're going to install the front of Boop, and we're going to use M3x6 button head screws and washers. Now, the what am I thinking of? I am using the tap to do the install here. That's perfectly acceptable. In fact, they tell you to. They direct you over to the install here. Pretty much very close to the same. It's just slightly, the parts look a little bit different. Yep, and that should work. They want us to put a washer underneath the head. I'm just going to make sure that the washer does fit in there. And the washers do not fit in the holes. And I believe that is a revision. These holes have been reinforced more than the tap, which uses that cross hatching. So we should just be able to use the M3x6 directly in there and have plenty of room to mount that. So we're just going to line this up and mount it. You may have to lift your rail carriage up some for alignment. Now, I'm not going to tighten these down yet. I'm just going to get them going. Basically, just trying to get all four going in. I had it up a little bit too high. So I had it up a little bit too high, and I actually tightened it on the front of the clamps, or over the front of the clamps. So that would be why I was having a little bit of issue and why I wasn't getting it tight. But there's our boop. Now you will notice, I'm going to bring you guys in here, that the carriage does sit lower than the printed part, and we do have a lot of room here, and this is bottoming out at the top. So this is really a secondary default to keep this from falling off. And then we'll go around and look at the back, and you'll notice, whoops, sorry, that this is the slot where our sensor is going to sit into. And when we put the sensor in, this is why we haven't put it in yet, is with the sensor in, we won't be able to get to this mounting screw. So the sensor is going to get mounted right at the last bit. And hopefully that didn't make everybody completely seasick. Yes, if you cool down too fast, you will impact layer adhesion. And yeah, even with PLA going 100%, maybe not that bad, especially if you're running fast. But with your hotter temp filaments like ABS and ASA, really don't go above 30. If you run it too high, you'll have brittle parts. And yeah, I will print that other part and kind of get it replaced and upgraded. So we've got the front installed. Next up would be basically to install the, would be to install the tool head, which we can't finish the tool head up completely yet. I won't even be able to set it in there either because of the I won't be able to even set the tool head in there unless I can get it out of the printed part. So let me see if I can do that without breaking said printed part. Okay, there we go. What I'll do is I'll put the printed part without the actual hot end in there just yet. Because I should be able to get that part in there at least. It goes in this way, right? Yeah, so the words come out towards us. That printed part with your heater is going to go right here. And you really need that because your screws are going to go through this printed part. So for right now, I may go ahead and just install this in place just to test fit it and see how everything's sitting. And then we'll go from there. And we're going to use a pair of M3 by 35, so we might have to use M3 by 40s if I remember right from the last time. We'll see what M3 by 35s look like. Okay, so you were able to use the Ender 3 with the work. Awesome. That is awesome, Modlight. I know how frustrated you were getting with that. So apparently, I mean, they're lined up, but I think I might just have some tight holes. So based on what I'm seeing on that screw. Yep. Let me grab my reamers real fast and we'll just ream those holes out. I know it won't technically matter too much because I'm going to reprint that part, but like I said, I can at least go and fit things up for now. And once I get that part reprinted, we can put that in place. Do you have these issues, Chris, where things just don't seem to work out right? Did go flying across the room? Okay. I'm going to be very careful here. It's weird. It's almost like there's just a slight lip between the parts, which I don't get because everything is each keen and lined up. Like, work for me, please. Just work for me once. All right, it's got to be this XG mount part that's not lining up right. So we're just going to say the heck with that and move on. We'll have to complete the toolhead portion another time. No worries. We've got plenty of things that we can work on still. Yep, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. Murphy's Law, especially when you're on a stream, everything will go wrong. So apparently we're going to have fun there. We can't do anything else on the tool head just yet. So, salad fork. Let's go back to the docks. We've got the gantry, we've got the bed, the belts, the clicky. We still need to do some work on the bed. So let's actually work on that part right now while we can. And what we're going to do on the bed, besides raise the bed up to make it easier to work on. Is remember that we still have two nuts right here in the back that we got to be cognizant of. And we need to do some wiring up underneath on the deck. And I'm trying to figure out what might be the best way to do this. Okay, so if I set this way, you guys should see I've got two sets of 3 2x2 Wagos mounted down here. Let me bring you guys in closer with the other camera if I can. If can't get you in there with this one. There you go. So what we've got here is I've installed two 3010 blower fans, and this is just a little bit of electrical tape to hold these in for right now. I'll have to figure out a different a method of holding the wires right there. And we've got our 2 black and our 2 red. The plan is to bring our 2 black and red, join them together and go in the top sets. The bottom set will have the black and red that'll come out, and that'll be the power and ground for the fans. So we're going to run these in parallel. And then we'll have our same type of thing for our bed wire and our thermistor. I can either do them on opposite sides, or I can do like the bed on this side, the thermistor on this side. But all the wires will come back to this side of the bed to go into the cable chain and down. That's kind of where we're at now. We should be able to work on these, and because we're dealing with Wagos, we don't need to do ferrules. You can do ferrules, or you can leave them without. I have done them both ways. Wagos are designed to not have to be used with ferrules. So it's really up to personal preference which way you go. Ooh, you wasted 40 bucks in ASA because somebody thought it funny to pull it out of the extruder while it was printing. Oh man. Yeah, that's kind of what we're working on right now is we're going to basically splice these two together on each end. You just need to strip the wire. We'll find a good length for our bed wires. We'll cut those. We'll get those in here. The other portions, of course, will go on the other side and be ready to go down our cable chain. Same thing with our thermistor wire. And all this is just to make it easier so that we can undo a couple of wires and be able to take the whole bed platform off and be able to do things that way. So let me grab my wire strippers real fast. And while I'm over here off camera, I am going to mute you all real fast and blow my nose. Bear with me. And the good news is tomorrow is pretty darn close to just being a wash day at work. So we'll be able to do a little bit of work on the stream gear. And these are 28 gauge, so they should strip off pretty easily, but just make sure you got your 11 millimeters. And I am going to take these and twist them together. I may need to take these out, or not out, but loosen the wires up, put them in place, and then make them nice and pretty. That'll do. And these are pretty low watt required. I mean, I think these are like 0.1 amp. I said watts, but like 0.1 amp. So joining these together and feeding them off of a single line in parallel, definitely not a problem. There's more than enough amps available to run these. So I could probably add a second set in there as well without an issue. Okay, and those are there, and I'll just kind of push those wires out of the way. We will have to add the red and black wire there to run the the power for those, but what do you guys think? Just loop this over and bring it in right here. Oh. You might even be able to just run it under the bed over there. These about right here. There is no polarity on your thermistor wires. You're just going to need to have your two wires coming around going into one of these, or actually two of these. We're going to go into the top one is all the, in this iteration, the top one or the ones towards the front of the bed will be all the ones that are connected to the bed items. And then the lower end or the ones facing the rear of the printer will be all the runs that will come back around into the drag chain and go into the electronics compartment. Oh, hey, Cedar Craft, how's it going? You have your truck and be out there soloed. Nice. And a little pull test. We'll do the same thing over here where we'll come around and give ourselves some slack. Cut these about right here. And one thing you can do on these when you cut the wires here and expose the wires, one thing that you can do to make them a little easier and a little less unwieldy is put a short bit of heat shrink tubing on them, and that way you can pull it back and not have to worry about some ugly fray in it or it fraying over time. So let me grab a little bit of my heat shrink tubing. You don't need a huge amount. You're just going to, like I said, just get it on there, strip your wires, and then it will enable you to have a little bit nicer end to your exposed insulation. Of course, I may have grabbed the one that was slightly too small. Well, let's do that again. That's what it is. I put that, didn't I? Sorry about that, gang. And I've had times where these come off real nice, and then I've had other times where they just fray all to heck, and it gets annoying. You never know which version you're going to get until you cut it. This seems to be a pretty decent quality wire. And once again, I'm just going to bring these down so they're just over the edge. We don't need to cover up too much. We just need to get it over the edge. And I need to grab my heat gun. Hopefully this isn't too loud. Okay. Get over there and cool down so I don't burn myself again like I have done in the past. Hug to make sure that we've got it in there and captured and a good electrical connection. And those two are good as well. So two at the top. So we'll grab our home runs from the two bottom sides here, and then our bed heater on one side, thermistor on the other. So all we need to do now is take our other ends of the wires and we will strip some of that back and do the same setup for them as we did before. And we'll put those in the other slots, and that will let us make our home runs back through the cable chain. And so Acetacraft, what we need to do is get you set up with an inverter and a small printer so that you can print on the road. Okay, so these two are going to be our wires for the thermistor. But we'll bring these back around underneath the bed. And then once again, the other side of our other wires here we'll cut off, and we'll do the same thing we just did with a little bit of heat shrink tubing. And that will let us get a nice good connection without any fraying of the insulated wire there. How's the stream doing? Are we getting laggy and jumpy again, or are we still okay for the time being? Yeah, definitely. If you can drive the truck and 3D print along the way, I mean that'll be cool. I mean, you already had Uncle Jesse printing in his Tesla. Let's back up. Okay, so there's where our nice little um, heat shrunk ends look like. And like I said, we're just going to open up the lower sides of these, and we'll add these wires in. And then we've got, let me go ahead and set this up so you guys can see. So we do have a couple of zip tie positions over here that we should be able to run zip ties through. And I just need to find these zip ties that came with the kit, because I'm sure they're going to be a specific, maybe not a specific size. Did I have zip ties that came with this one? I did not. At least I don't think I did. But we should have plenty of zip ties nonetheless because we do a lot of printing. Oh, really? Printing RC plane parts. Yep. So grab your um, zip ties and just go ahead and load a couple. Now, the one thing that I probably need to add in there before I go zip tying this stuff in is I need to get a line fabricated for that fan. So let me go find a long wire that I can use to add that fan in there. And then we'll get those two running down. Remember that it does not have to be like black and red. We can use anything we want just as long as it's long enough and all of that jazz. So pretty sure that these two are not going to be long enough. And if I remember right, we used 2 wires the last time. Is this going to give us some good length? These will give us about the same amount of length that we have with the others. So we'll go ahead and use the blue and yellow from this set of motor wires that we had used a couple on the previous build. Let me just strip some of the insulation. Put this back over so that we can add these wires in. So here, all we need to know is which side is going where as far as positive and negative. So I'm going to look at the yellow as being a hot color. So I'm going to put that in with our red. And the blue being a cool color, we'll go with our black or our ground or our neutral, load return, whatever you want to call it. Oops, that one didn't get locked in there. Hmm. what happened there, but we'll adjust accordingly. There we go. We'll just bring that down there and add it to the group. Does anybody have any big plans for the holiday? Or is everybody just looking forward to some time off of work and relaxing? I want to make sure that these aren't like cinched way too tight and are binding anything, that there's plenty of gap and room there so that they're not just like yanked taut. I'm not going to tighten this last one up just yet because I do need to work on getting in my my cable chain. So I'm sorry, I think we were down here still working in the bed down at the bottom where we were working the cable chain. Now route the wires to the back of the printer and use the zip tie mounts to secure them. Connect the cable chain using 2 or 3 M3 by 6 button head cap screws with the chain entrance facing upwards. Route the wires through the cable chain and connect it at the top. Okay, so we'll need our cable chain, and we did get some cable chain. I will hide this camera. Come back to the bigger camera for now. Get this one over there. Just relaxing, yeah. Some time off. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the time off, and I'm looking forward to. Give me 1 second here, just try and figure out where we're at. Probably somewhere right around in there. I'm definitely looking forward to some time off and just relaxing with Mrs. Dragon before she heads out again. She does head out shortly after the holiday for another trip. And then she's back and hopefully not going anywhere for a while. This other end. And then I think we just found out today that we're going to be off for a couple of weeks for Christmas and New Year's, and that our contractors will be off for an extended furlough as well. So that's the backbone. It's going to go like this. All of these wires are going to have to go in here. And of course, this is not a one where it opens up, so you have to actually feed the wires through. But what you can do to make your life a little bit easier is pop the two ends off, mount your ends, and then run it through the cable chain, and then just clip it on. So we'll get our ends installed, hopefully. And this, you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just installing this. There's two screws that need to line up with those two heat sets that we put in. Using M3x6 screws. Two up here, then two down here. I know which way that the cable chain will mount. Probably still get it wrong, but Rodney Mack, you're working. Well, that stinks. I hope Chris takes some time off. I know he was under the weather and didn't stream the other day. But yeah, I hope everybody that can get some time off gets time off and enjoys spending time with family and loved ones. I Our ends are now installed, and once again, we need to make sure. So this the it's flat on the outside, which means the piece that goes into it has to be the inner ear pieces. And down here, these have the inner ears. This has to have the flush outer ear side. So this is how we need to basically route our wires. And unfortunately, that means what we have to do is basically route 4 wires through here. And there's really no easy way. I think what I'm going to do is let me run the colored ones first. These currently have DuPont connectors on them. I'm probably gonna have to switch those out with JSTs. Um, but these are fairly easy to get through. The ones without any ends may be painful, and we'll probably try and wrap around the other two. But really, it's a matter of just trying to keep them from going down through the gaps in the cable chain. And unfortunately, I've found like you would think, oh, well, if you put tape on the ends, it should make it easier. No, 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 not necessarily. Not necessarily. So close. Anyway, we've got the four thinner wires. Now, hopefully, we can get the two thicker wires through there with no real issues. Cows and horses don't feed themselves. Nope. Well, they could, but they probably won't. You know. Hmm. So now that we've got all of those through, we're going to bring up the end and just snap it in place. Sometimes easier said than done. Okay, one side. Okay, there it is. And this is where I was trying to say you've got to be able to leave a little bit of room down here in order to get these wires to come around nicely and bend in there. If it's too tight, then you'll have a binding issue. And then we're going to come down and snap in here, but what we definitely want to make sure of is through the full travel. So if I go up any further, I'm going to be hitting right at the top. So I probably want to take at least one of these out, which I should be able to do easily enough. Famous last words before I jab myself and draw blood again. Okay. So that out, if we put this kind of put it about in the right spot, that's pretty close to, well, it's fully up because it would have hit the tool head by that point. Take one more off. Ooh, it's supposed to be snowing on Thanksgiving. That sucks, dude. It's been raining all day today, and it's going to rain all day tomorrow as well. So that's kind of how our Thanksgiving's going right now, or it's looking to be going. Another reason why I don't want to get on the road and travel anywhere. So to make our lives easier, this is a pretty small hole down here. We're just going to go ahead and start feeding our wires through. Let's kind of deconflict our wires a little bit. And just like before, we'll take them in pairs and send them through here. And that'll get them to the bottom side of the deck panel. And you just make sure that they're down in the channel of the end there, and bring this down and clip it in. Possibly easier said than done. There we go. So we've got our cable chain installed. And like I said, this is all the way up against the bottom of the toolhead carriage, so it'll never get up that far. And that's probably the max that it's going to wind up going. So that should be good. We've got a little bit of our service loop right there. Make sure that everything's good, and we'll tighten up this last zip tie. We'll be able to clip these off here, and our wiring comes down through the loom, and we'll be able to route it around underneath here. So now, speaking of wiring, we've done the belts. We've got the tool head that we're still working on a little bit. And now we're going to start into our wiring in the mains outlet. So with that, we need to go all the way up onto the top here. And looks like our first piece is going to go on this side over here, and it'll be our electrical inlet. So we're going to need our M3x6 button head cap screws, an AC inlet, 3 colors of 12 to 14 gauge wire. Recommend green, white, black. About 7 male spade connectors. Let me see what I got over here. Power in, cables that. I need this. I need shirts. And a little bit. I thought I had a pre-made outlet, but apparently I do not, or at least not there. I thought I. Okay, give me 1 second. Because I thought I had ordered one, but maybe I didn't. Use that one. Ugh. Apparently I don't have an outlet at the moment, so I will need to go and order one. Let's think. It's 8:30 now. And I definitely need to be cognizant of time tonight. Since we had some stream issues earlier. And I know me, I just keep going and going and going until somebody yells at me. It kills me. It shows one type, but puts a different type in there. That one's a filtered. Yeah, this is going to be a standard inlet. Let's try and work around it for a little bit right now. Pretty sure the first thing it's going to tell me to do is get the get the DIN rail, smack it in. Wire the power connector, run the power connector through. Okay, Pezliz, thank you for letting us know. Working hard and diligent as always. Yes, I got my Solid Fork t-shirt on because I figured why not? I need to clean up my it's just a little bit more. Because these are designed so that you can put the screws in and then slip the heads through. And then you just tighten it up like that. Okay. We'll add our outlet here a little bit later because I will order an outlet. An IEC, was it IEC 13 outlet? We'll need some DIN rail mount so that we can mount up our power supply and some of our electronics. We'll get some parts. Right now it's talking about what's heat set inserts in the brackets. So we're going to need to do those. Give me a second here to straighten up just a bit. That over there, that there. Bring this over. Those there. Insert heat sets into the rail brackets. Okay. All right, I know. And these don't, there's no like flush side to them. So really I'm going to get them close and then I'll use the side of the workbench to make sure they're flush with the printed part. It doesn't help that it squishes too. Oh, yeah, there's some blood and sweat, a little bit of frustration here and there as well. Um, I mean, that's building though, the way it goes. And by the way, that's where I hit my hand against it after I said I need to get this back off the table when I'm done using it or I'll hit it. Yep, I did it. I hit it. Okay, so we've got that prepped. We're going to let these cool just a little bit before we mount them. But we do need to use M3 by 10s to attach the DIN rail mounts to the frame on the bottom. That's going to be here and here. And of course, this is awesome. So all four of my nuts are right here. Means I need to pop this out so I can slide it. Yay. Hopefully these are not like one use. Oh, it should be good. Very least I'm going to put a couple here. And pretty much the same thing on the other side. These four moved over in the middle. Add brake. Got some nice pretty black DIN rail. Pins just Okay, so I think we came up with another problem. So let me bring you guys over here and show you. This is going to delay us the rest of the way. So as you can see, my, there we go, my DIN rails are too long. What I need to do is figure out, where I need to cut these, and then cut these so that they will fit down in here in the gap. So yeah, I'm gonna have to cut these rails. Not not that bad. I mean, I've got the tools, I can easily do it. I'm just going to need to do that. And it's not something that I had planned ahead of time for, because first time I measured it, I figured the rails would be cut to the appropriate size. And even if they intended it to go the other way, then they're going to be too short. So this is the intended way. You'll mount your power supply on this rail and your other electronics on this rail. So it looks like I'm going to have to cut these shorter before I can install the rails. So yeah, I will tape these together like this, figure out what the appropriate length is, cut it off this one edge here, and then we'll be able to install these. However, I'm not going to be able to do that tonight. So we will have to work on this part or I was going to say tomorrow. We may stream a little bit Thursday. I don't know. I think we're staying local and we're not doing anything. Let's go ahead and get our mounts onto our power supply. Now, the nice thing about this power supply, it is a Meanwell, it is the UHP side. So this side is all 120. This side is all 24 volt. So it will mount on that DIN rail like this. And we will keep all of our 120 volt wiring right in this back quadrant, so that this will be all 110. This will be 24 volt coming out and feeding our controller, and our controller is going to be an M5P, which is a 5 driver board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it has CAN bus on it. So we will be running a CAN bus toolhead and CAN bus directly off of the board. So that's kind of how we're going to plan that. So Modlite, normally they are cut to size, especially if it's coming in a kit. And like I said, I can cut it. I just have to go down, measure it, go downstairs, fire up the bandsaw and cut it, which is fairly quick. It's just as we get later and later on stream tonight, kind of not something I want to do and then do while you guys hang out here, basically. But like I said, I can definitely get those done, and who knows, maybe we stream some tomorrow night. They show a preference. I doubt if they do. So the preference that they show is latch towards the or yeah, squeezy is towards the middle. versus the ends. I'm going to go the other way. Yeah, the last couple of den rails that I've got have been a little bit long. Well, no, I take that back. The ones that I've gotten for the Voron kits have been spot on because I ordered them to the right size of the kit that I was using, and like I said, they were the right size. This is really weird that it's not only a wrong size, but it's like less than a centimeter too long, which is weird that they would get it that close. So these clips, the screws come in. There's just a channel there, so you can get them started, then slide it in, then tighten it down. Big thing is make sure that your clips are both in the same directions. If you got them in the opposite direction, then your locking clips or tab, the squishy lock unlock side would be on opposite ends, and that would be bad. In this case, the configuration I did it is it will hook here and then press down this way. They had it going the other way, and depending on how close this rail has to get to the motor, trying to hook it in at an angle, would be pain. So I'll hook it in from the center and down, and from the center and down over here. Yeah, I think I'm kind of done for this stream. Sorry guys, I'm just a little bit annoyed. Yeah, the Amazon ones were long, especially since the Amazons that I bought were 1 meter long sticks, so I cut those to my own size. And then these are, they almost look like the aluminum ones that Tensor 3D has as well, so it may be the same supplier. I want to say same stock, but same supplier for those. But folks, it's coming up on 9 o'clock. Let's go ahead and try and figure out who a good raid would be tonight. Let me just take a look and see if it will tell me who's out there. Babe Ross, Astro Canuck, the Jang, Maker Deck, Sid Heresy. Who else we got out there? So yeah, things that I do need to get though is what? What were we talking about before? We need a power socket. So we need an IEC 13 socket. So I either need to find one somewhere in the stash that I didn't want to dig through tonight, or order one, or most likely both. I'll dig through and see if I have one and still order one. If not, it should be here by Thursday. We are going to be using a CB1 module that has EMC 32 or 32 gigs of eMMC memory versus a Big Jano's on, that's right, versus a SD card. So that'll be a little bit new. So next time we are going to get into some wiring, and we are going to get into hopefully some software. And quite honestly, if Mrs. Dragon is cool with it, because tonight was kind of a bust, I am going to work on reverting some drivers and stuff for NVIDIA and possibly going back an OBS version and see if that clears up some things. And we may try and stream tomorrow night. Who knows? And I will check what you sent me, Modlight, for that Elgato, because if I can do that and I don't have to deal with NVIDIA drivers, that might not be a bad purchase. So and I'm going to get us started, a raid for Big Jano. Thank you everybody for being out here and kind of putting up with the stream issues again tonight. Hopefully it hasn't been too bad since we converted over to software encoding, but we'll continue to try and work on that and get it squared away. Thanks for being here and going along with this build. I will possibly see you tomorrow night. I'll send a thing out on Twitter. Help me as we go over and hang out with Big Jano. And everybody have a great evening. If I don't see you, have a great Thanksgiving. And we will see everybody later. Thanks again, everybody, for being here.